Come join Melissa and her guests on the Chats from the Blog Cabin podcast. From North Carolina, this podcast will have you feeling like you've known these folks for years. Listen in as they chat about life, culture, current events, and more, all with a special Southern flair. Curl up with your favorite beverage and get ready to be entertained. Tune in now for a unique experience that's fun and insightful.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Chats from the Blog Cabin. You know, the show where I virtually invite people into the blog cabin to chat about life. And today we are chatting with Diane. She's the author of Infinite Paradise, Witnessing the Wild, which is an amazing, if you're a nature lover, you will love this book because she takes on every season in nature and the places she goes to in Canada. So, Diane, before we start talking about your book, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I am a Canadian. I live part-time in Arizona, but my husband and I go up there to this property every summer. So it's been lovely. I've been a freelance writer. I began in journalism, in magazine journalism in the last century. That's how long I've been writing. And so I went to books around the turn of the century, and I have about 7 out now. And this is my latest one. It's very close to my heart because I love this property, and my mother did as well. I'm sort of doing it for her.
Oh, I love that. So tell us a little bit about the connection with doing the book for your mother. Because I think that's really cool.
Well, my mother loved the place, and we've had it since the late 1950s, and that's when the family came into the family. And my mother used to call it paradise. So she would write me letters because I moved down here fairly early, and she would send her letters came from paradise. So I wanted to do something to honor my mother and this property because it's such a special place, and it was so special to her. And it was me as well. I feel very close to this place. I had a yoga retreat in Costa Rica, and I got off the plane, and in the airport were these banners that said Infinite Paradise, Costa Rica for all seasons. Well, that was just a call to me. That was the name of the book just given to me out of the blue. So that's the history behind this book.
So tell us a little about the paradise, the place, because you said it came into your families in the 90s. Not a lot of people hold on to land now, even in around the world. Most people want to develop and everything else, but no, you make it so that it's pretty much the same all throughout.
Yes, as I say, we got it in the late 50s. My mom and dad and an aunt and uncle and my grandfather, they all went together and got this land. And over time, my husband and I acquired the whole property, and it is set in some of the most, pardon me, some of the most productive agricultural land in the world. I have to have just a little swallow here. And so it's surrounded by farmland. But when you're at the cottage, there's a side of the river that has a hill on it. So you can be sitting there. You could be in the wilderness because you don't see any farms. You might hear some farm traffic now and again. But we decided very early on, my husband and I, that we wanted to protect that property for what remains of the natural world, because it's going everywhere. So it was very important to us to do that. And it has worked. We have lovely families of raccoons and deer and skunks and red fox and lots of birds and everything. So it's just a lovely preserve, you might say. It's a place just for wildlife. That's how we wanted it.
I love that. So what made you decide to write the book? You said it was your mom was the inspiration. It was dedicated to your mom. But what made you decide this is going to be a great book? Let me write about the seasons going through Infinite Paradise.
Well, I think that in this time, particularly in the world, I mean, there's a lot of turmoil everywhere. And nature itself is such a remedy for that, is such a place to go to, get inner peace, settle yourself down to take on the rest of your day or your world. And things are very difficult these days. And they're very difficult for the natural world. We're losing animals and plants and everything all the time. So my goal was twofold, really. I wanted to honor my mother and the place itself, but then I wanted to make people aware of the healing properties of nature because it can do so much for people, for mentally, physically, emotionally. And then secondly, that we've lost so much, but there are still riches left. We just have to look for them, how to be still for them, how to let them come to us, be open to it. So those were really my goals in writing the book.
So you talk about the healing properties of nature. Let's get into that because I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is a bunch of woo woo stuff, and everything, new age stuff. Nature's been around a long time, and home remedies from nature have also been around a long time. Why is nature such healing? I mean, honestly, I know whenever I go by a body of water or I hear a waterfall, it just calms me down. My nervous system just kind of calms. So let's talk about that.
Well, that's exactly right. And there are so many, being in nature can help with depression. It can help you sleep better. It can lower your anxiety, lower your blood pressure. These are all, they're not woo woo things. These are all medically studied things that are true of being in nature. So there's a Zen koan in the book that says, so I can get it together, that you should spend 20 minutes in nature every day, unless you're very busy, and then you should spend an hour. And that is really true, because the more stress you have on you, the more nature will open itself to you. Just to listen to a bird singing can lower your blood pressure. These are medical studied facts, and the world needs so much of that now, more than ever. So, yeah, there's no end to really the healing properties that come out of being in nature. It's if it's a waterfall or walking in the woods or just a park, or there's so much there if you're open to it.
So you just talked about spending, if you're really stressed, spending an hour in nature. How do we carve out that time? Because the people are going, I ain't got time for that. I don't have time for that.
I know exactly what you mean. And that's why they it does say 20 minutes. If you can get 20 minutes, if you can get 10 minutes, if you can get 5, if you can go, if you're in a city and you have, a little garden on your balcony or something, just some pots with plants in it. If you've got the right flowers, maybe butterflies come by, birds come by, feed the birds out there. You can always, it seems to me, you can always find 5 minutes, 2 minutes just to close your eyes, sit with the sound of the birds and the wind in the trees. It'll do wonderful things for you. So whatever, and I realize not very many people have an hour to go out and walk in the woods. That is very true. We've got things to do. We've got families. We've got work. We've got all sorts of obligations coming at us. So whenever you can grab that moment. If it's just a park down the road, if it's just sitting in your backyard for 5 minutes or something.
Mhm.
Something will come to you. So you will feel the peace of it if you allow it in. It will just calm you. And as you said, if you've had that experience, so you know that it doesn't take much time for you to recharge your batteries and move on.
So you basically have to be really open and not go outside in nature and have your cell phone open and check your messages while you're out in nature. You really have to just kind
Yeah,
of put
right.
everything aside and just say, okay, I'm just going to sit here.
Yes, that is the time. And it's really hard for people to do that because they are so used to their phones and being in contact all the time, never shutting down. But that's very important that you just drop that, because you will notice things that you didn't know were there. I can't think of an example, but even if you're on your phone, you're not going to see the butterfly coming by and see the beauty of it and the movement of it and the joy that is there to watch that. So you do have to open yourself up to it. Yes, make yourself available and these things will come.
And I love how you said just a little while ago about how even if you can't go out in nature, if you have a balcony or if you had something that you can just go out, if you live in a city, even if you go to a city park and just sit there for 5 minutes on your lunch break and just sit.
Right.
The
Yes.
fact that you don't have to go out and take a real long road trip to get into nature. It's finding nature around you.
Yes, that's exactly it. And it is always there. As I said, even if you're in an apartment, most cities have some trees somewhere that you can go and sit somewhere, a balcony, something. There's always something, but you have to find it. You have to want to find it, and you have to be open to it, wherever it is, whatever it is.
And not worried about what's going on in the
Yeah.
external world because it will help with your stresses, especially if you're stressed out over a problem. Sometimes the clarity comes
Oh,
when you.
yeah. Yes, exactly. It will clear your mind. If you just let everything go and let your surroundings come into you, it will clear things out and you will see things differently because you can't think correctly when you're just sitting there being pressed on with anxiety and pressures and stress and what are you going to do here and about this and that and the other thing. You have to let that go, let something else come in and free up your mind to work these things out. And it will do that.
I love that. We need to take a brief commercial break. When we come back, you're going to read part of your book, correct?
Love to.
So here we go.
People welcomed me and they knew the pain of the journey that we'd been on because they'd been there too.
Parents Like Me is an online community, peer-led, for parents with kids struggling with mental health and or substances.
It's a space that's safe. Feels like I can actually share what's going on.
We offer 15 daily support groups per week and live speaker talks on Thursdays, as well as a monthly expert panel.
We also have a resource hub that has a toolkit. This includes over 1,000 articles, podcasts. There's a glossary with the most recent and relevant terms. And we have a directory that's been vetted.
The overwhelming feeling when we're sitting in a meeting and I'm telling my story and I see others shaking their head, tears falling, they understand this roller coaster and they're along for the ride.
In a world full of chaos, she chose to anchor her story in hope. Through storms and silence, she found strength. And now, she's inviting you to do the same. This isn't just a book, it's a lifeline. For every woman who's ever felt unseen, your healing begins here. Anchored in Hope. Available now.
And we are back with Diane. It's going to read part of her book, Infinite Paradise, Witnessing the Wild. So Diane, it's all yours.
Well, thank you. I'm going to read just a small section. There's a lot of magic in nature, but one of the most magical things, I think, if you've ever had the pleasure of watching fireflies, because fireflies are just bewitching. So I just have a small portion here. Like so many other life forms in our distressed planet, fireflies, which can indicate the health of the soil, have declined worldwide through loss of habitat, pesticide, climate change, and especially light pollution. As darkness sets in, these bewitching winged jewels of the night rise and dip on the sweet summer air. Their tiny silvery green auroral sparks of light glow and glint off and on for hours like little lanterns. They weave spells through tufts of meadowgrass. They sprinkle the edges of the woodland with their magic and bounce and pulsate high overhead in the blackness of maples and elms and apple trees. Fireflies remind us just how lucky we are to be alive. Their fleeting beauty tells us we should take nothing for granted. What is life? It is the flash of a firefly in the night. It is the breath of a buffalo in the wintertime. It is the little shadow which runs across the grass and loses itself in the sunset. That last little bit was, it's been attributed to a chief of a Canadian Blackfoot tribe in the 1880s. I think his name was Crowfoot, but it's a lovely end to that.
Yeah, and you're right. Fireflies, I can remember catching fireflies in the lighting jars when I
Yes.
was little and just watching them light up in the jars. But now you can't see. I mean, I get so excited if I see one or two that just light up at night. I'm like, there's a firefly. There's a firefly.
Oh, yes, I know exactly the feeling because we used to have at the cottage in the Paradise property, we used to have, to go out and you'd see dozens and dozens of them. And it was just like another world. Now we're lucky if we get a dozen, just one dozen. So they are disappearing. And we're hopeful that the little property that we have is maybe sustaining a few of them for a little bit longer. It'd be a terrible thing to lose fireflies.
Yeah, I love that because you're right. You can see certain things in nature, and like I can understand the excitement that I feel when I see just a couple of fireflies in our backyard. But can you imagine the childlike that you become when you see something in nature that you're not expecting to see, but you see it, like even a beautiful
Exactly.
butterfly or anything like that?
Yes, well said. That's exactly how I feel about it. Yeah, it's just a magical moment for anybody who gets the pleasure of seeing that.
So what would you say to naysayers that say nature isn't magical? They're all about the industrial, they're all about living in the cities and things like that. And they're not about getting out in nature because they're just not nature people.
Well, I think, and that's a valid thing, and people do say that, but I don't think you have to be a nature person. The value is a personal one, and it's no matter what kind of work you're in or where, if you're working in the city or whatever, it's the advantage of having nature there to calm your spirit, to maybe you don't want to do a hike in the mountains or something,
Mm.
but something that will help you with your make it through life in a physical sense, in an emotional sense, in any way that you live. It's going to make your life better. It's not going to solve your problems, but it's going to make the way you handle life a little easier. And anything that does that, especially these days, is very good. So just be open to it. You don't have to you don't have to go climb Mount Everest. You just have to be aware of what is there for you and know that it will help you no matter who you are, where you live. It's going to help your spirit. It's going to help you calmness, bring an inner peace to yourself, no matter who you are or where you are. It will help you.
Yeah, and it's one of the few things in life that is free. That you don't have to
Yes.
spend a whole bunch of money on trying to find supplies to do it or anything else. It's completely free. You just walk outside your front door.
That's right. That's right. And anytime you walk out your front door, most front doors, there's going to be something of nature there. There's going to be some trees or some birds or some squirrels. Or squirrels are just fabulous to watch because they're such characters. It'll make you forget some of your troubles. Maybe it's not going to solve them, but it's going to make it easier to face them. Anything like that. And the idea of it being free is such a good point, because it is. You don't have to pay anything for that.
And I have to make a point too that maybe animals know, especially dogs and cats, if you have them outside, know better than us because they can spend hours upon hours just looking out the window and watching things go by.
Yes, I think animals. There was I've forgotten who it was now. It might have been a writer, but he said he's known many Zen masters in his life, and all of them were cats.
Mhm.
So you know that because they know how to live in the moment. Animals know how to live in the moment because they have to, pretty much. And if you're a wild animal, you have to live in the moment. Well, that's important for humans too. Live in your moment. Get what you can from it. Enjoy that moment. That's moment's not going to pass, not going to come by again. So part of that is part of the joy of nature as well.
Now, one of the things you talked about in the book was how healing begins with stillness and how you have to be still to start learning how to heal because you have to listen to your body and you listen to things around you. So, how can that being in nature help us to become more still?
Well, I think that nature itself. Now, I admit that there's a lot of violence in nature as well,
Mhm.
but that's another issue of how nature is handling the life cycle itself. But what we're doing is looking at those joyful moments when you can watch a butterfly. If you can watch a butterfly going around the trees, and it will lead to stillness because that's what it is. If you focus, it's almost like a focused meditation.
Mhm.
You focus on that moment, that being, that flower, that bird, that squirrel, and everything else goes. That in itself is going to bring stillness to your body because it can't help but do that because that's the only thing you're focused on now. You're not focused on, what are you going to have for dinner and what are this and, that, and how are you going to get the money for that and all that. It's
Mhm.
just this one being, this one presence that you get to be with for a second, 2 seconds, a half a minute. It will help you to calm yourself, your inner self. It's just the nature of it.
Yeah, and I can't help but think about I don't know if you've heard, you probably have heard about the monks that walked for peace.
Yes,
I was
yes.
able to see them in Greensboro, and the fact
Oh,
that they walked with some of them walked barefooted. And
yes.
they were connecting with nature, even though they were like sometimes they were on the road, sometimes they were off the road, but they were connecting. A lot of them stayed in tents at night or didn't even stay in a tent, but sat up and listened. And that whole Zen, they were so peaceful though.
Yes, that's a perfect example of it. Unfortunately, they didn't come by our way and I was not able to see that, but I love that idea because it was such a powerful thing to do. I mean, it was passive, but it was very powerful. And I love that. You're absolutely right. So they were out there all the time. And they are some of the most peaceful people we know.
Yeah.
Zen Buddhists. Yeah.
And so they were definitely in tune because they went through snowstorms, rainstorms. Some of them got sick toward the end, but yet they were still like very like the same person that you saw yesterday that you would see at the end of the journey. You saw the beginning
Right.
of the journey.
Yes, it was a lovely thing. It was lovely. I saw a lot of it on Instagram and whatnot, so it was lovely to see.
So let's take a turn to a lot of people don't feel like they belong in the world. And so how can we help find our sense of belonging in nature? Because nature helps us kind of feel like we're a part of something.
Yes, I think that's a really important thing because often if you're just focusing on your human relationships can overpower you very easily. And there's another dealing with nature helps you to navigate those relationships and to see what is important and what isn't important. Just that calmness, giving yourself the place to be calm and to think about what is important even with your human relationships. So I think that just giving yourself the space to be calm in a calm place, in a quiet place, in a peaceful place can make you think more clearly, as we said before, and that will extend to how you're going to be dealing with people and where your people are. If they're in a art club or if they're in a, whatever, wherever it is, or wherever your family is and how you relate to your family. It's all a part of that. It helps you sort that out and it will help you find your place in the world, which is hard to do sometimes.
And you just brought up the the subject of art, music, everything else seems to flow from nature. I mean, the inspiration, they come from nature. So let's talk about that inspiration.
Well, I think that's very true. And in my past, I did a lot of artwork and I agree with you completely. Art will come out of a place of quiet too. So if you're doing something in the art world, often it requires that space to really think things through. And being in nature will help you do that. You can sit and listen to the waves coming in on a beach and something will come to you, a story you want to tell, a piece of music you want to write, an embroidery you want to do, anything that that helps you focus on things like that is good. And nature is one of the best things you can turn to focus your mind on creative things.
And there's one part in the book that I love, and you talk about it. You say it's from YouTube, Red Flag Day, and it says, Paradise is a place you can't see when it's yours. We have been so blessed from the beginning to be aware of, witness, acknowledge, and appreciate our own very own paradise through time. Look for yours, however large or small. Look around you wherever you are, what you might have taken for granted, what you might have moved more slowly if you had breathed more deeply. And I love the fact that you said, you brought in YouTube. We'll talk about you two in a minute. But the fact that paradise is a place you can't see when it's yours, because sometimes it changes our perspective. We have to look at things differently. Like I notice a lot of military people, because I'm in military town, I'm a military brat, that when they come back, they appreciate things more because of what they had. And now their perspective has changed and they can look at things differently.
That's exactly true. And I think that's true for anyone who's gone through anything traumatic or any life change, divorces and losing your parents, anything, grief, anything like that. When you have gone through something like that, you realize what is around you and what has been there all the time, and you appreciate it more and you know how to use it and how to take it in and make it work for you. So I think that's very true of anyone who has gone through anything traumatic, and certainly, a lot of military people have gone through traumatic things. So I think that's true for for the ordinary people and anyone who's been through trauma. It's just a joyful thing that is available to us, no matter who we are, what we've been through, what we are going through. It's there.
I know I get so excited when I see waterfall because I was born in July, so I'm the Cancer sign. So water is like my calming thing. So if I know
Yeah.
that I'm out of whack, I know I need to plan a trip somewhere where I can find water, just so that I can sit there for like 5-10 minutes and just soak up all.
Oh, yes, I know what you mean. And when you listen to water, because water is such a incredible thing. And if you listen to water in a creek or in the falls, there's all these overtones and undertones, and it's almost like a language, like it's talking to you in some way, you know. So it's a lovely thing, and I think light is like that. I think anything in nature can be like that. There's layers to it. There's levels to it. It's just wonderful experience if you let yourself take it in.
So let's get over to the you two of it all because you mentioned you two in the book, but also in your press release, it said that you were with them, what I think, was it 10 years?
Well, I have to clarify that because it wasn't really with them. I have been a fan for 40 years. So I have met them all and talked to them all, and they're all lovely people. And I've had some incredible experiences with them. I did not travel. I was not part of the entourage or anything like that. I was a fan, an Uber fan. I mean, I'm still a big fan. And they've just put out a special EP for the State of the World now, which is quite interesting. They haven't had an album out for about 9 years now, I think. So, but yeah, I've been a fan for a long time. But the book is my experiences and all the travels that I've done. A lot of traveling to see them. I've been fortunate to be able to do that because of my work. I can sort of make my own schedules a lot of time. So as I said, I was on the road in the sense that I have toured for decades now to see you two. And as I said, I've spent little bits of time with them here and there, and they're lovely people, all of them. But, I have to clarify that I was not part of any entourage or anything.
But in a way you were because you traveled and followed them to
Yes,
so you were part of the entourage.
I'm going to say I was. It was lovely. It was a lovely time. I'm hoping that I think they're going to possibly tour next year, or maybe the end of this year, but probably next year. And I still hope to go and see a concert or two. So yeah, they've been kind of with me for at least half my life. They've been sort of speaking to me through their music.
So you just talked about how they just put out an EP about the state of the world. How can people escape into nature when they're so fearful of what's going on right now, in especially in the United States?
Oh yes, yes, yeah, that's a huge part. And I find that the more things that go on, the more I see that we need to escape into nature because there are only so many things you can do, and the things are happening around you to which you have no control of. So the way to deal with that is not, you have to know what's going on because burying your head doesn't solve things. And if there's something you can do in a physical sense, marches or whatever, or rallies and things, do it. But for your own psyche, escaping into nature doesn't, as I said, doesn't matter how long. Just that calmingness brings you back to what is real in your world right now. You're still here. You're still moving in some direction for yourself. Whatever else is going around you, you don't have control over that. So take control of yourself, your own life and your own being. And nature can help you with that. Just for all the things that we've said, giving you that sense of peace and calm, and that you can do this. Strength. We need a lot of strength these days, emotional strength, all kinds of strength. So it will help. It will help. It's not going to solve this problem that we have, but it will help get through it, get to the other side.
Hopefully there's another side that looks better than
Yes. No, exactly. I'm with you there 100%.
So where do you find the inspiration for the multiple books? Because you talk like this one's about nature, but then you have the one about when you're talking about going and following YouTube around. And I just can't even imagine that that's such diverse, but in a way, probably the same thing too.
Well, I think that comes from my work in journalism because I would find something that really excited me. Then I would find the place to pitch it, and then we would come to an agreement. And in that day, way back then, you could do multiple submissions. So you'd have to really focus in on and then the other side, what they expected, the expectation and all that. So you had to work that out pretty in detail. So I think that's where I get the book writing from, because I get interested in something. Well, the first book I did was a book of poetry, which is unfortunately not in print yet, but I hope to get it back in sometime. And that came from a trip I took to my brother to England. We were gone for a month. So that book's about that. And then of course you too, that was the next one. Then when I moved down to Arizona, I I took a class at the University of Arizona, and it was Arizona history, and there was this story in there about a shootout in Powers Garden. Well, I got all wrapped up in that, so that was the next one. The unfortunate thing about writing that way is you don't really have a big fan base because you're doing all of these different things. But it has always been the way I've written, even when I wrote magazine articles. So it's just the way I write, and I feel a challenge, and then I want to do that, and that's where I go. I have always needed to write, so I've never written to a genre or to any trend. So my writing, I need to write, so I need to find those things that I need to say and get out for myself, really. That's where I ended up.
So what made you parlay that journalism, the news article writing, to creative book writing? Because I think because a lot of times journalism is cut and dry, it's facts, it's like you have to fact check and everything else. But when you're writing for like this particular book, like you were just writing about your observations, how did you parlay? How did you switch mindsets, of course,
Yeah.
from journalism to something more creative?
Well, I would say that there used to be a time when people would say, if you're writing fiction, you write fiction. If you're writing nonfiction, write nonfiction. In fact, I was told that by various people along the way. I have found that writing, to me, it's like the Shetland Islanders and the Orkney Islanders of Scotland. The Orkney Islanders say they are farmers who fish. The Shetland Islanders say they are fishermen who farm. That's to me what writing is. Writing is to me, because you can take fiction attributes into nonfiction. You can take dialogue, you can take conversation, you can take description, and you can go the other way around, take nonfiction into fiction. So I have never seen that separation. So to me, I like to be challenged by writing something different. Wrote a book of short stories because I liked writing short stories, and it just came together as a collection. To me, it's the challenge of it. And I don't find it difficult to do because I get very absorbed in whatever the project is I'm working on. So it has never been difficult. The most difficult thing for me in writing is writing a first draft. So with Infinite Paradise, the first draft was already done in my journals and in my father's journals. But no, I've never had. I had a few experiences where editors, I was writing for Arizona Highways and I did a couple articles, and then they changed editors. So they paid me for my work, but they didn't publish it. And then I had another magazine where the editor died and the magazine just went under. So I think that's the time when I turned to book writing, because I thought, okay, I'll take a break from that and try to do something else. Sometime it might have been art, because I did go into art for a while too, but that's just the way I've always written, and I don't know how to do it any other way.
I mean, I can't even imagine, that this book was so beautifully written, and you picked up on every little like details of like animals coming in and everything else. I can't even imagine writing something totally different, because the way this book is written, I can't imagine you writing anything different. So I'm gonna have to go check out some more of your other books, because I love the fact that you're like my mind. My mind has too many tabs open. I just wrote about that not too long ago. And I talk about, you have the wife tab, the mom tab, you have your creative side, you have all this other, all these tabs open. Where do you get in the stillness? And your book answered the question. It's like going out to nature and being still and just.
Yes, that's it. Quieting your mind can do just amazing things. Anybody who quiets their mind can find things in themselves and outside themselves that they weren't aware were there. So it's just a lovely thing that we have available to us, and we should use it more.
For sure. Do you have any more books in you think? Are you working on anything right now?
Well, I have the beginning of a second collection of short stories, but true to the way I write, I'll try to make this short, but being from Canada, Thanksgiving and Christmas are too close together to have two turkey dinners. So for 40 years, I have done different meals from different countries, depending on what's happening in the world. and what traveling I've done or whatever. So I'm looking at, and I've kept all those recipes. I have the actual recipes and I have the menus and all that. I'm thinking of a book called 40 Days of Christmas, a recipe book of all things, which I've never done before. But that's the way that I write. So those two things are in the works. And I do have a little bit of a beginning of another poetry book. But whether I get them done or not, I just keep plugging away because I need to write and I've got things to write.
I'd love the 40 days of recipes because I feel like you could also talk about what was going on during that time that you're
Yes,
writing
that's exactly.
using that recipe. And I just think that's amazing. That's awesome. And the fact that you can talk about what's going on in the world and why you chose that recipe would be so great for people are like, oh, I'm out of inspiration. You're right. Turkey and ham dinner, it's basically like everybody
Yep.
gets that. You want something different. And so you can open up your book and say, okay, what does she do? All right. No, I can't do that one. Oh, I can't do that one. Here's one right here.
You're inspiring me now because I have loved this book or the thought of this book for a long time. And it is that way because there were reasons why I chose that country or whatever, things going on. So, and I do have a little bit that I've done about 2 of them already. So all of these things are in the works, but this recipe book may be the next one. You've inspired me.
Well, thank you. Because honestly, I know as empty nesters, we're almost empty nesters. Our youngest is still at home, but she's about ready to launch into the world.
Mhm.
That sometimes, your children don't always come home for Christmas or Thanksgiving, and you don't want to cook that big meal for just 2 people. So that's a book that's
Exactly.
very well needed right now.
Well, I'm going to give it some real thought then. We've been empty nesters for a while now, so you're right. Even when no one has, well, my daughter's in town here, so her and her husband always come. So 4 of us maybe.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah, it was fun doing it. I loved doing it, and I roped everybody in, and everybody had an assignment. And my daughter usually made the salad, and we get soup and everything. It was a lovely 40-year meal. So I think I may go with it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would buy that book.
Well, good.
So our time is almost up. Before we talk about where people can find you at, is there one last little thing either we've talked about that you want to reiterate, or maybe something we haven't talked about that you want to share now? The floor is yours.
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. I really really enjoyed the conversation. It was really fun, and I can't think of anything else I'd add. I think you covered everything very well.
Well, thank you. So tell people where they can find you at.
I'm online. I have a website at www.deebeaff at wordpress.com. And I'm also on Instagram, just under that name, under Diane Beeaff, the name Diane Beeaff. That is the only online presence that I have. I had some trouble with some other issues a while ago and I sort of backed off. But that keeps me busy anyway. I love to post to both of those places. So, and the book is available anywhere books are sold, Amazon, can't even think of things, Baker and Taylor, anywhere, any bookshop. It may not be in the bookshop, but they can order it. It's available everywhere.
The book is called Infinite Paradise Witnessing the Wild and Memoir. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can go to that QR code up there in the corner and just take your phone and scan it. And it'll take you right over to Amazon. If not, I will put in the show notes where you can find it at Amazon because I feel like everybody pretty much orders from Amazon already. So
Don't they?
it's like the biggest retailer right now in the US.
Right, exactly.
So, Diane, thank you for coming on and for sharing about nature. And I'm so happy to include you. I forgot to tell you this is the beginning and tell people at the beginning. I'm going to include you in my Women's History Month. I'm going
Oh,
to
that's
do
lovely.
people that have inspired me or inspiring interviews with women. And so you're one of those women. And I cannot wait to get back out in nature. Luckily, today it's windy, but it's almost 70 degrees here in North Carolina.
Lovely.
2 weeks ago, it was cold and 6 inches of snow.
Oh, wow. Well, it was lovely being here. I really enjoyed talking with you. It was great fun.
I will put in the show notes everywhere you can find Diane as well as where you can find her books. I'm going to link all the books that she has if I can find them all on Amazon. I'm going to link those all so that way, especially if you're a YouTube fan, because I feel like YouTube is people are going to be watching, looking for that. So, and hopefully she'll come back on soon with her recipe book or
Oh,
whatever
love
book
it.
she has, because I would love to have you back on anytime that you have anything that you've written. I would love to have you come back on because this book was so beautifully written. I can feel
Oh,
like I
thank
was
you.
there.
Well, thank you so much. I'd love to be back.
All right, guys. Until next time. Bye.